Alright, today we're going to be changing a ignition cylinder in a 94 Jeep Wrangler. It's a YJ, so it should work for early 90s model and some late 80s model. Should be pretty much the same. I've got an aftermarket steering wheel on here. It's what came with the Jeep. It's a wood steering wheel. It's kind of hard to tell that it's still wood. It's pretty rough here, but the Jeep came with a set of keys that fit everything except for the ignition. Either that or the ignition cylinder's locked up. So today we're going to be changing it. First, on this particular one, we've got a small hex head screw. We've got five. Start by taking those off to free up the steering wheel. Get those 5 off, steering wheel will come off. And on this particular one, there's a couple of little collars that'll stay on there. Then you've got a 13/16 bolt holding that on the shaft there. We'll leave that guy just barely on. Then we've got 3 11mm screws. And those should have a small lock washer on them. And I left that 13/16 bolt on just to make sure that the cylinder here stays on the shaft. There's a lock washer on it, so we're going to take that and our 3 screws. Got a little cover on there. Going to note which side was up here. I got this guy here. Seen in some videos where people will take an actual puller to extract this, but I found that if you take a couple of screwdrivers to kind of get up behind it and just give it a wiggle, you can kind of get that to free up without having to use something fancy like that. Once you get that to free up there, it just slides right off. Also noting where the top is, which ones go which direction. Then you got this guy here, also keeping in mind where the horn button is. Got kind of an L-shaped pattern here. We're going to keep in the same position here and slide that off. It's got a spring back behind it there. We're also going to make sure that that stays in place. Then from there, you get your turn signal. There's a couple of screws, one here mounting the turn signal, one here back behind, another down here, and I believe that's it, but we'll find out here in just a second. It's easiest if you take off the screws that mount that mechanism first, just so that you can have that in place there and actually shift it back and forth to expose those screw heads for access purposes. Once you take off that guy there, it frees up a small bracket. Make sure that you denote which way that bracket faces and how it interacts with the turn signal there. That way you can get it back. And the fourth screw is hidden back behind there underneath that small bracket. Once you have that guy there freed up, turn signals freed up, come around, catch your hazard button. Hazard button is just a Phillips head screw. Make sure that screw stays in. Then you've got your blinker assembly here freed up. You can kind of take your fingers and pull on that there. Make sure not to put too much pressure on the plastic. You do have quite a bit of moving parts here you want to take care of. Also, just be careful not to pull too hard, because it is attached to some wires back behind there. Once you get that guy freed up, right here underneath this screw head, there's a small slot that you can depress a tab in, and that tab end should release your ignition cylinder. Once you get that guy to pop out right there, kind of just pops right out. That's how it's done. New one. Oh. Directions. Ha ha ha. Directions. Who uses directions? Don't need that. So we're just going to match up which side the ignition cylinder slides in there. Now would be a good time to clean it if you've got a rag handy, just to make sure that there's no grease, grime, grit, or debris inside there. Once you get that guy in, cleaned up, slide your new ignition cylinder in, make sure it lines up properly. And just like that, you're good. The rest in reverse.